Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Interesting story out of Spain. I like to see how consumer issues are handled in other countries. So, can I talk to a human? Spain presents customer service bill. The story's from the courthousenews.com. George sent it to me as the Associated Press ran it. The bill in Spain would seek to do away with long wait times by forcing companies to answer calls within 3 minutes. There are some companies you can try to call where you cannot get a human being. You cannot get a human being. Or if you do, you get a call center on the other side of the planet where people don't speak English. And that's just how it is. But out of Spain, if you're tired of speaking to a machine and you call the bank or the power company, well, Spain, their government's trying to solve this. They want to end those nerve-shattering, one-sided conversations with a computerized answering service by making it required for companies to offer a real flesh and blood customer service worker when so requested by a caller. So if you get this thing, for this, press 1. For this, press 2. It's got to be one that says, do you want to speak to a human being? Press this. That is one of among a battery of measures included in a customer service bill presented by Spain's left-wing coalition government on Tuesday. The bill will need the approval of Spain's parliament before it can become law. Customer service is a critical part of our relations with consumers, which unfortunately and far too often causes endless headaches for Spanish families because far too many companies create bureaucratic labyrinths to stop you from exercising your right to service, says one minister, Alberto Garzon. He is the Minister of Consumption. And I guess it has a different meaning when you translate it, but consuming things, I guess you're a consumer. But interestingly, it's good to know that these kinds of things are not purely American, that these happen all over the place. These are difficulties which unfortunately waste an enormous amount of energy, time, and money. The bill would also seek to do away with long wait times by forcing companies to answer calls within 3 minutes. Okay, now the guy's dreaming. Providers of basic services such as utilities, phone, and internet will have to offer customer service 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. All other companies will have to provide customer service during working hours. All customer complaints will have to be responded to within 15 days. The law will apply to all utility providers, regardless of their size, and all other companies with more than 250 workers or whose business exceeds 50 million euros a year. Fines for breaking the law will range from 150 euros to 100,000 euros. I presume that escalates based on how many complaints you get, or possibly as to how large of a company you are. But, there are so many stories about problems like this. And I don't think I told this story, but I had an issue with a bank not so long ago. And every time I called, I would get someone else who would tell me the exact same thing. They say, it is now taken care of, you're all set. And I'd check a day later, it wasn't taken care of. I'd call back, I'd get somebody else, they go, let me click, click, click. Oh, it's all taken care of. And I'd say, do you have a record that I called yesterday? Yes, I do. I see you called yesterday. Do you see that it says that yesterday I spoke to somebody who said it's all taken care of? And the guy goes, well, presumably, okay. So you just told me the exact same thing they told me. What's the difference between the two? Fact of the matter is that yesterday they said it was all set. You just told me it's all set. You and I both know I'm going to hang up the phone, check, and it won't be all set. The guy goes, no, you're all set. You're all set. Sure enough, it's not fixed. So I go into my bank branch, and I actually know some people there, so I've been banking there for so long. And I ask the manager. Manager comes out. Can I help you? Yeah. I go, I got a problem. I described the problem to him. And he goes, come on in. So we go sit down in his office. He calls whatever the double secret number is that he has to where he can get through to somebody important. And he calls me. I hear him say, he identifies himself, and he goes, I am, and he gives the name. He goes, I'm the branch manager, and he gives him a code of some sort at this number of branch and blah, 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 blah. Sitting with my customer, good customer of mine, Steve Lehto, and he informs me that he's now called 2 or 3 times to try to get this situation fixed. And every time he calls, it's not fixed. And he goes, and I can see on my own screen that it's not fixed. Why can't you fix this? Click, 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 click. Okay, it's all set. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that didn't fix it. And I came in the next day and I told the manager, I said, just to let you know it's not fixed. And he's like, no way. I go, yeah. You go in, click, click, click. He goes, oh my gosh, it's not fixed. How is that possible? So he calls again. He gets a different person. And he goes, I called yesterday. And he went through the exact same thing I did, but just at a different level. They told him, and I heard them because he had him on speakerphone. They said, don't worry, it's all set. And he goes, you told me that yesterday. Guy goes, well, it's all set. And so what's funny is I had to keep going back into my branch and harassing the manager. And also I called periodically myself and harassed people on the phone to the point where my manager at the branch that I deal with called me one day and said, Steve, I got a phone number here for a guy. I just spoke to him. He's like 2 supervisors above the people we were talking to before. And this guy not only says he can fix the problem, he can make sure it never happens again, and he's going to give you his own personal number to call if it ever happens again. And I'm like, dude, I have so lost faith in the ability of any bank anywhere of doing anything right. I'm surprised they don't just lose my money. But I said, okay, give me the number. Gives me the number. I call the guy, identify myself. He goes, oh yeah, I just talked to your manager. I said, yeah. And he goes, okay. He goes, let me explain to you what happened. And he gave me an explanation as to what happened, and it sounded moderately plausible, but it was still stupid. It was a really dumb mistake. And he admitted, he goes, that was our fault. That was our fault. Something happened early on, and it just kept re-happening. I can't get into it because it's too complicated. I'm not even sure I understand it, and I'm not even sure I believe it. And I go, let me ask you a question. I go, these 3 different people who told me I was all set, I actually wrote their names down. I go, where do they work? And he goes, they're actually in the same building I am. And he was at the national headquarters. And he goes, they're in the same building I am. I know who they are, and I know where they work and all that. I go, why couldn't they fix this? And he had another lame explanation for it. I'm like, okay. He goes, but here's the deal. He goes, you can log in while we're talking, and you can see that I fixed this. And I log in, and sure enough, it looks like he fixed it. I go, you understand I've lost all faith in your ability to fix this. There's a good chance this will be screwed up tomorrow. And he goes, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down my name and this phone number. I go, okay. He goes, that's my cell phone number. He goes, if this ever happens again, or if you have any other problem with us that you cannot solve through your manager at your local branch, he goes, I want you to call me directly. He said it was a cell phone number. I don't know if it was or not, but he said it was. The good news is he fixed the problem. But the weird part is that I spoke to, over the length of the problem I had, I think 4 or 5 different people. And I would actually pull the old, can I speak to your supervisor? And they'd give me somebody else. I understand, and I'm convinced of this, that 99 times out of 100, if you say, can I speak to your supervisor? They say, sure, and they put you on hold, and they transfer you to the next cubicle. Somebody in that cubicle, can I speak to your supervisor? Put them on hold, transfer them. You don't actually get a supervisor. They just transfer you to somebody else, okay? But the guy I spoke to who gave me his cell phone number was some sort of supervisor who was capable of actually fixing the problem. If you looked at how much time I wasted on that problem, going to my branch and complaining and speaking to different people on the phone, and then finally the guy who fixed it, it was hours and hours. And underlying it all was a problem that was entirely their fault. They admitted it was their fault. The guy said, this is our fault. We'll fix this. We'll take care of everything. We're sorry. It still took hours and hours and hours to fix. And I've had other problems before. And they often arise with cable for some odd reason, or internet, that kind of thing, where you get a call center and you understand that these people are reading a script, not just because they've been told to read the script, because they don't understand the language. And I've had people say, Steve, you're racist when you point out that someone can't speak English. That's actually not racism, because I'm not addressing a person's race. I'm simply talking about whether or not a person on the phone I'm speaking to in English can understand me. And if they can't, that's a problem. And I don't blame them for not knowing English. I blame the person who hired them for putting somebody who can't speak English on the phone with me when I only speak English. And so I've had it happen before where I've had a problem and I've done everything I can possibly do at my end. So finally, I'm at my wit's end. I call and I get a person on the phone. I say, I have a problem with the internet. Just to let you know, I've rebooted it twice. That didn't fix it. Okay, let's reboot your router now. Okay, I've already done that twice. It doesn't help. We have to reboot your router. And they have a flow chart. They've got a flow chart with instructions. Do this, do this, do this, do this. And they don't know how to jump ahead because they don't understand what I'm saying to them. The first thing they say is, let's reboot your router. 5 minutes later, ask, is the white light on? If yes, ask this question. If no, ask this question. They notice, they can recognize yes and no, but they don't understand what it means when I say, I've already rebooted my router twice. So we go through and reboot the router a third time, and it doesn't happen. And I understand, I've spoken to people who say, Steve, you have to understand people will call up and say they've done something, but they haven't done the right order. But I've had other problems before where I've explained to them, here's the problem I'm having. I know what the problem is. And they still go, well, let's try this first. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. Okay, now let's try this. We could have saved 15 minutes. I'm trying to help you too. So it appears here that the laws that require the most are requiring that of things like utilities and so on, right? And I understand that because they're often heavily regulated because in exchange for the monopoly of providing power or water or whatever, you're going to get a protected business. So you may have to put up with more regulation. But the idea that just private companies have got to do this is one of those things. But then again, it's only companies with 250 workers or more, or whose business exceeds 50 million euros a year in business. But it'll be interesting to see if the law passes and if it has any effect, because it might change some of the business models, because there are companies out there that advertise, we can provide you the service of having a call center, and it's really, really inexpensive because we hire people who don't speak English on the other side of the world. Will they be good at what they do? No, but they'll be really, really inexpensive. It'll save you money. So there you go. So we'll see what happens. George, thanks for sending it. But in Spain, can I talk to a human? Spain presents customer service bill where they're going to require businesses of a certain size to actually allow you to speak to a human if you demand the right to do so. Stories from the Associated Press and courthousenews.com from Madrid. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Life is like riding a bicycle. Stop pedaling and you fall off.